Well, a very good afternoon and welcome to our live transmission. It is Sunday, 26, the month of May. Let us catch up quickly because our knee asikotopo, and there's a lot that I just want to touch on from the continuity or the continuation rather. Níbi tí a ti ń bọ̀ lánàá, èyí tí ẹ bá tẹ̀lé ètò wa. Orúkọ mi ni OLAYOMI KOIKI, tí gbogbo yín mọ̀ sí Koikimedia, one of the Yoruba campaigners to self-determination, and also a campaigner for the Yoruba people to exit Nigeria according to the international community and the global world on the self-determination under United Nations Charter. It does not matter how much your faith is in Nigeria. Nigeria will eventually collapse at some point, whether you like it or not. But my job as a lecturer, as a campaigner, is to remind many Nigerians that we would do whatever needs to be done, diplomacy, to make sure that the Yoruba people understand agboye idipataki, that there is nothing called Nigeria, is a deceit, is an illusion, and that is what we're going to be doing on this platform in the next couple of hours. Please, as you're coming in, share the program and invite your friends and family. We start with these conversation from the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, Professor Adebanji Akitoye. We've listened to it, but it's worth listening to again.
So, but there seems to be some confusion in Yoruba land. I see that maybe perhaps the generality of the people do not feel as passionate about self-determination. And secondly, there is all kinds of positions. Afenifere is talking about restructuring. You are talking about self-determination.
You don't know this. You don't know the nature of the Yoruba society. You don't. Most of the young people, and they are the majority in Yoruba land, want the self-determination of their Yoruba nation. That's the truth of the matter. That's what is keeping the movement going. And they are also doing so in the diaspora. Yoruba young men and women all over the world want their own country, separate from Nigeria. You cannot deny that. No matter how much you want to pander to the government, you cannot deny that. But that's the truth.
But anyway.
The important thing, however, and I'm surprised that you are not talking about that, is that the Yoruba people who are fighting for self-determination are telling the world and telling themselves that they will do it only peacefully. We are Yoruba. We know our status in the world. We know our status in the black world. We do not want to destroy the peace of Nigeria, and we do not want to bring difficulty into the lives of any other group in Nigeria. But we want to get out of Nigeria. That's it. That's it.
Well, Prof, you were a strong member.
And you're not talking about that. You are asking me questions. You are asking me questions as if what Onitiri did has the support of the majority of Yoruba people who want self-determination. It is not true.
Well, Prof,
he has a small minority of a section that is ready to do illegalities. A year ago, they went and attacked a radio station in Ibadan, and so on. Now this year, they are attacking the entire government of Ibadan, and so on. No, but we have not sent anybody to go and do that, and we do not support it or encourage it.
Prof,
and we think it is criminal.
Prof,
and so if they get punished for their criminality, we have no objection to that.
Prof, you are a strong member.
You cannot, because of them, generalize opposition to self-determination. You cannot.
Well, Prof, you were a strong member of the Unity Party of Nigeria, also a very strong member of Afenifere. Afenifere is talking about restructuring. You are now talking about self-determination. What is the difference, you know, in these two?
Yes, our fathers in Afenifere are doing the right thing. Talking about restructuring so that we can go back and live our own life the way we used to live it prosperously. They're doing the right thing. There is nothing wrong with that. But we, another group of people, larger in number than they, are now saying, no, self-determination is the answer, not restructuring. Why? Because when you restructure, you are still in Nigeria. And the people who are coming and disrupting your life and destroying your farms and killing your women and raping your mothers and daughters and so on are still Nigerians. They still have a right to come to Nigeria. The only final solution to that is to separate so that you have a separate Yoruba country where we can make our own laws and so on, where to which we admit only people we want to admit. So nobody can claim that they have a right to come to our land. They don't have such a. But as long as we are in Nigeria, no matter what restructuring is done, they still have the right to come to our land and do the things that we're doing. Nobody is talking about the fact that most Yoruba farmers have been driven from their farms. I am not hearing that. I'm hearing only about government. I'm not hearing about people. You are not talking about the fact that most Yoruba farmers have been driven from their farms and that the Yoruba nation is in danger of famine upon famine upon famine for years and years to come. You are not talking of the fact that the Fulani declared war on Nigeria on the 24th of January and 26th of January and said that Tinubu is not our president. We are going to Aso Rock. We will take over the seat of government there, and we will use this place to organize the conquest of the rest of Nigeria. You're not talking about that. You are not talking of people who said, no Fulani man must be arrested for the bomb in Ibadan. If you do, you will have bombs in every town in Yoruba, in Nigeria. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is talking about the sheer insult of living in a country where some people are treating the government like that. You are talking about Onitiri and so on. Why do our...
Well, Prof, let me ask you this. Self-determination,
you are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to your opinion, but what I'm saying is that your opinion rigorously avoids the truth. Rigorously.
Prof,
avoids the truth.
Nigeria, as Onigo Chiche told us in his research on ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, has over 300 ethnic nationalities. Will you recommend self-determination to all the other ethnic nationalities in Nigeria? Or all these nationalities to
those who want it don't ask me a general question. I am asking for self-determination for a nation, the Yoruba nation. There are about 60 million people in Nigeria, and their territory is large enough to be a large country. So that's what I'm talking about. Any other nationality in Nigeria that wants self-determination is free to ask for it. I cannot come and ask for self-determination for nations that are not mine. No.
Well, Prof, as we have this, we're having this conversation. We are in Cotonou, Republic of...
That is our very good one there, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination. Happy Sunday, and welcome to the live program as we look into a topic that we're going to be discussing and today complete our discussion that we started, if you have been following us on Koikimedia in the last couple of days. What we are discussing today is the final conclusion, because from next week, we are moving to a different topic from the one Baba Akintoye has given us to be having a conversation. So in the last couple of days, we've been talking about the path to prosperity. Yesterday, we asked if President Tinubu or Professor Banji Akintoye, who among the two would give Yoruba people prosperity. But it seems that many people argue that we should never compare President Tinubu with Professor Banji Akintoye. But while that was going on, within 12 hours of that program, because it's not yet 24 hours, there is someone that also came out and said to Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ó dà pé wọ́n parọ́ fún ẹ o, Jagaban. Ó dà pé àwọn tó kó mọ́ra wọ́n parọ́ fún ẹ. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ wa tẹ́ ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Happy Sunday once again. Mo ti rí ìyá mi Àṣàtìṣe, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò, mo kí mọ́mísí mi náà, and the rest of you. There is one of the man of God, Primate Ayodele. He says that Nigeria is still bleeding. Don't be deceived. President Tinubu, àwọn tó kó mọ́ra, àwọn olè, àwọn jàgùdà, àwọn má jẹ́ kí ayé fẹ́ tẹ̀síwájú. They are telling you lies. The country is still bleeding. And that is what we're going to be discussing this afternoon. So Nigeria is still bleeding. Don't be deceived. Do you think that Nigeria is still bleeding? Ǹjẹ́ wọ́n rò pé Nigeria bleed? Àti pé as we are ending the path to prosperity, because we will be going into another topic from tomorrow. And that topic is also very, very important. It's a unique one. And that topic we will be starting from the next week. Says, and I quote, in the independent Nigeria, we have suffered serious decline and agony. Ǹjẹ́ wọ́n ti jìyà nínú Nàìjíríà? Ǹjẹ́ orí ẹni tó ń jìyà nínú Nàìjíríà? Ǹjẹ́ orí àṣeyọrí nínú Nàìjíríà? Gbogbo tá máa discuss nìyẹn. Bọ́ká tó lọ síwájú, ẹ jẹ́ ká kọ́kọ́ play orin àsíá ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Mo ń gbọ́ pé wọ́n náà fẹ́ change the national anthem of the zoo country. Out of all the problems tó ń ṣe yín ní Nàìjíríà, the only thing tó kan àwọn politicians òun ni pé wọ́n fẹ́ change the national anthem. What a very crazy country called Nigeria. Orílẹ̀-èdè. Kàgbéga. 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 Ìgbàgbọ́. Bàtí bẹ̀rù. Ká ṣiṣẹ́. Ká ṣiṣẹ́. Ká ṣiṣẹ́. Ìṣọ̀kan. Ìṣọ̀kan tó mìíràn. Ní kẹ̀jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú fọ́pọ̀ ire. Àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ Oòduà dìde. Bọ́ sí ipò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ̀. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀. Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀. Mo bẹ̀ yín, mo rọ̀ yín pé ẹ bá mi fi sínú comment section kó tó di pé a máa ka ntí Primate Ayodele sọ. Ìyẹn bàbá wa, the leader of the Evangelical Spiritual Church, Primate Elijah Ayodele. Gbogbo wa náà ni a ti rí Tinubu nínú ìjọba lọ́dún kan. Gbogbo wa la ti rí APC lábẹ́ Buhari, the terrorist Fulani man, tó fẹ́ pa Olóyè Ìgbòho sínú ilé, tó fẹ́ pa Nnamdi Kanu sínú ilé, tó ti ilé iṣẹ́, tó ti gbogbo university, tó destroy Nigeria economy, tó fún àwọn Fulani láyè pé I don't know a country that says that you can arrive in Nigeria with no visa. Buhari ló ṣe yẹn. Buhari went to, I think, either Morocco or Egypt, and went there and said, anybody can come to Nigeria, you don't need a visa. Just arrive. And we saw the end of that. In every part of Nigeria today, there is terrorist attack. even today, I have just been getting the news that there's another rail that the train has derailed in Abuja. Ṣé rántí pé train ló derail tó pa Dr. Chinelo. Ní rántí mọ́. Dr. Chinelo was just about less than 72 hours láti kúrò nínú Nigeria láti rìnrìn àjò lọ sí Canada kó tó di pé wọ́n pa nínú train wọ́n kó àwọn kan lọ tó sanwó oríṣiríṣi. Rotimi Amechi, the former minister for transportation, said, I told Buhari, the evil man, that this train is not secured. The line is not secured. There is no security to protect Nigerians that are traveling from Abuja to Kaduna. And Dr. Chinelo and many others, I can only remember a name, and may their soul rest in peace. So as you Nigerians continue to ask, is Nigeria still bleeding after the 9 years of a failed APC government? Ìjọba burúkú, ìjọba olè, ìjọba mujemuje, ìjọba tó pa economy, ìjọba tó dá wa padà, more than 50 years. That is what Fayose, the former governor of Ekiti, said, and I quote, while he was interviewed on Channels Television, that the former President Buhari, the evil Fulani man, took Nigeria backward 50 years. And if you minus 8 years of Tinubu, or should we just stick it to 4 years? Because Tinubu is not yet guaranteed that he will be the president after 2027 until an election is owed. So when you remove 4 years out of 50 years, we still have 46 years before we can catch up. Nigeria debt is about 96 trillion. I am now asking, with the failed 16 years of the corrupt PDP from the Saraki, the Jonathan, and the Obasanjo, all those bomb bastards, I am asking you now, is Nigeria still bleeding? Shall Nigeria bleed? If Nigeria is not bleeding to you, does it mean that it's not bleeding to many Nigerians as we speak today? I got a call from a family friend. Money me go on ni. Oh no, my sick. Money where there's nothing I can do. That is the bleeding. Many of you are bleeding in your house. Many of you are bleeding in your community. I am asking, should Eshin bleed? Or should we just say that everything is rosy? Because President Tinubu says, and I quote, that the country is on the right path in terms of the prosperity. President Tinubu says, and I quote, my government has literally stopped the bleeding in Nigeria. I am not the one saying it. This is what Tinubu says yesterday. President Tinubu has stressed the importance of strengthening also the local government. But he says, and I quote, the government of mine has stopped Nigerians from bleeding, and we are now moving into the prosperity. I am asking every Nigerian today, regardless of your take, whether you believe in the Yoruba to depart and have their country, whether you believe in the Biafra, whether you believe in the Arewa, the Ijaw, as a Nigerian, are you thinking, or do you still think that Nigeria is not bleeding? Many Nigerians that are studying in UK, they are now stuck because of the exchange rate, which is about 1,800 up to 1,500 to a dollar. So we catch up more. We saw them protesting at the Newcastle University because the university has now said that they will not be able to give them a further continuity with their education. So I am asking you, is Nigeria bleeding? That is the question. I don't know. I am not in Nigeria. So you have to tell me, especially anything been in Nigeria, shall Nigeria bleed? Because if Nigeria is not bleeding, as Tinubu says, and you are saying it's bleeding, talon paroni nugoboyi. Che Tinubu long paroni, I don't want Nigeria. Let's leave the Yoruba nation to the side. I am asking every Nigeria, is Nigeria bleeding? That is the question. Ibere lasoni. Mo ki baba wa lóyè Igboho, ẹ já kí olóyè dáadáa.
Ọmọ Ìbàràpá lápapọ̀ ẹ̀jẹ̀ àdúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àti ọmọ Yorùbá lápapọ̀ àtìlẹ́ tó kọ́ ẹ̀mí àgbọ̀ ẹ̀bá nǹkan ọmọ Adéyẹmọ Chief Sunday Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho orúkọ ńlá tí ń jàmọ̀ láyà bí ara orúkọ tó ń dẹrù bó lórúkọ gan. Ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ má sùn ọ́ torí pé wúrà a kò lè fojú kégbodò láyé títa rírọ̀ lẹ̀ dá ń kọjá wúrà tó máa dán àlànà kọjá dandan o. Ọmọ irin ní bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ̀nà ẹ̀dá kan lè ṣì wá lọ́nà mọ́ ẹjẹ́ àti mọ̀ṣọ̀kan ká lè lédi re ẹjẹ́ àjọgbárùkù ti Sunday Ìgbòho ṣá ọmọ Ìgbòho rẹ nílùú Alágbàdo Òde ọmọ Atapẹtẹ wọnú omi ọmọ tètè wọdọ sọyà ìsọyà rẹ̀ràn bàbá. ìkan tó kù nígbà tí wọ́n mọ̀ Ìgbòho mọ̀ rẹ́ kí ló dé Ìgbòho mọ̀ rẹ́ sí ọmọ òpópó sanra ìgbàgede Ìgbòho sùnmọ́ láláìsí bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ́n ní kó ní bẹ̀rẹ̀ ó máa kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ ẹ̀sìn òní bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho mọ̀ rẹ́ bẹ́sìn bá bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho áfíkọ̀ pọ̀pọ̀ sí amúkan yòókù kan sọ̀yà àtúmúyà rẹ̀ tí ò lọ́rọ̀ gbọ́ àfiṣẹ́rú wálé wàràmùjẹ ọmọ onílé àlà àwọn àjòjì tó ń ṣe ségesège tó láwọn ò ní bomi kó sí mu wọ́n láwọn ò ní bomi sọ̀yà wẹ́sẹ̀ ìgbà lójú kò fi ńkọ́ gbogbo wọn náà sáré bomi kó sí mu wọ́n sì bomi sọ̀yà wẹ́sẹ̀ ọmọ abẹ́rẹ́ mẹ́ta òde ayé ọ̀kan ṣẹ́ ọ̀kan tẹ̀ ọ̀kan tó kù ní gbogbo ayé fi ránṣọ kiri gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá Sunday Ìgbòho onírẹ̀lẹ̀ láéláé torí àbá lásán nìkan ń dá orúkọ àṣegbè fún wọn ìmọ̀ràn lásán ni ti balùwẹ̀ kò kọ́ sí ìdúpọ̀ dòdò láyé ń bí ó kún bẹ́ẹ̀ tí wọ́n gbomi láéláé ìtọ́ nílé domi Sunday Ìgbòho arógun má ti di tó ń jà fẹ́tọ̀ Yorùbá ní tilẹ̀ tó kó.
Let's read some of your comments because the argument this afternoon is between Nigerians and the President Bola Tinubu his government, and some of the comments are coming very fast and I'm going to catch up quickly with it. Iya Joke Bodun say it is still bleeding. Alan Kondi say Baba Tinubu have PhD in the lies. Yinka Ogundele says, and I quote, Nigeria is bleeding and is also leaking. Jimon Razak says, and I quote, Nigeria is gone. Our identity is already gone. Scary. You can just get killed knowing you are Nigeria. Alan Kondi said, Tinubu they play. You can only lie to your APC, not to us. Yawa Joke Bodun said, Tinubu, stop lying to us. Nigeria is still bleeding. Jimo Razak said, Nigeria, Otilo. Mr. Olatunde Sulaiman said, it is still bleeding. Ifeoluwa says, Yoruba nation is the non-negotiable. Gani Oloyede said, yes, after they change the national anthem, they should change the flag. Mad people all over the place. Sulaiman Kende said, Yoruba nation lafe. Gani Oloyede said, the difference is clear between Babakitoye and Tinubu. Edward Omolola Funshaw says, all Yoruba know that Professor Banji Akito is the right person to follow, but the BSC want to eat, they have lost their sense. Yoruba Land Precision says, Emilokan is out of equation to deliver. Yoruba Ni says, good afternoon. I am asking, is President Tinubu the one lying, or are you the one lying? Talon Parono and Bugoyin. A convicted Bitapwe says, stop bleeding care. We are buying a tube of yam. We have it in UK. It is not cheap. It's about £3. Only stop bleeding. We are buying a tube of yam for 3,000 naira. More than bleeding. A loaf of bread is 1,800. A loaf of bread in Nigeria is 1,800. I am asking again, is Nigeria bleeding, or should we say it is no longer bleeding? Grandma Binkweawoni said Nigeria is still bleeding. A very good afternoon to every single one of you that have joined us, and please share the program. It's a Sunday broadcast. We're not going to be long. Raji Idris says, Ekweto. Mokiawa, brother me Bukola Adewale. Shout out to many of you that have joined us on all the platforms. Those of you on the Koikimedia or the Doer, that platform might probably not go longer because I can't get the charger on the laptop. Not too sure why. But Ganiu Suraju se Moki Bobomo Yoruba, Pata Oluwawa Peluwa, Lashe Idumari. Moki Ame First Bank, and I say good afternoon to you. And Allah say all the effort to resurrect the bleeding country proved abortive. It was later certified clinically. I stand with the self-determination of the Yoruba. Mombere Kweshe Nigeria bleed because President Bola Tinubu says it is no longer bleeding. Ojo Alakpe Ganiu Olaiwola say, God Almighty bless you forever, my darling brother, Koiki Yoruba Nation. No going back. I back Igbowosha. Mombere ni, I don't know. I am 3,000 miles away from Nigeria. You need to tell me. Arowole Olarewaju said Nigeria is finished. Talon Paro. President Tinubu says that Nigeria is no longer bleeding and the whole country is now secured. But this is what happened with this kit. It's a skit, but it's the reality. Let's listen to it.
Mama pa mami. Èmi no èṣù mọ̀ ní. Èmi táwọn ìwọ̀n èṣù pásítọ̀ o. Wọ́n sì sáfà. Àmọ́ mo lẹ́bùn ràn. Jíde wọn.
Ẹ máa ríran.
Màmá ẹ ríran. Mo ṣe bọ̀ látọ̀ ọ̀kan tí mò ń wò yín. Làmú mi rí i pé.
Gbé kí mi. Ọba ebi ló ń parí. Èmi náà ti ìgbà kan. Èmi náà láìpẹ́ yìí. Nǹkan tí mo rí ẹ̀sán dájú pé wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ nígbẹ́ ní fort. Ó dẹ̀ padà ní. Ẹ jẹ́ pa.
Ọ̀rẹ́ ni pé kì í ṣe pé mo rí ní ibi ní ń parí.
Èmi ò ní bá ń sọ̀rọ̀. Àwọn ọmọ mi rí.
Ẹ̀sìn mú mi sáà. Lórí ẹsẹ̀ mà. Ó ti dẹ̀ mo ti bẹ́ẹ̀ sọ fún yín pé ìyá kan ní ṣe máa gbọ́ lé yín nù.
Àgbẹ̀ náà ló wà bí èmi yá. Ṣé bá bọ́ ẹ wá jẹ pẹ̀lú tó bójúmọ́ bí? Ọ̀rọ̀ dẹ́gbà ni mí. Nǹkan ti sọ̀gá gan ti ṣèlú ara mi.
Ẹ lọ́gà tẹ̀ wá.
Gbogbo la ti rí ìnáwó rẹ̀.
Ìfí ìdẹ́jú kéèyàn mẹ́rin náà lọ. Bọ́ọ̀lù èèyàn ṣe ní rí ní ń gbé bí ọ̀dàjà fọ́ mẹ́pẹ́.
Ẹ̀wọ̀n ẹ̀ka máa ti dáhùn ìyá wa. Ẹ̀mí tó ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ àlábà mi ra ẹ̀fọ́gbì fún mi.
Àmínírà ni.
Ó yẹ pàdé yàn kan tó ní ọjọ́ ìlera.
Mo ti rí náà fún èèyàn kan lókè. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe wà fún fẹ́ sáré gbélé ni.
I'm sure you got the message. In turn, could you epa ati bread, the basic. Many of you, I'm asking you, since the 1 year of President Bola Tinubu, have you been able to say that there's no more bleeding in your own house, in your own community? Are you now safe? Can you eat 3 square meals? Are your children going to school? Have you been supported by this government? Or should we wait for another 1 year when the government settles in? But Tinubu says, and I quote again, that he's doing everything and the country is now back to normal. I'm asking you, is Nigeria bleeding? Let's listen to this.
Wọ́n ti wọ́n bẹ̀ lọ́sàn-án ni wọ́n ṣá obìnrin. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni ṣe ní káwọn ọmọ mi jẹ́ ká lọ. Àfẹ́ máa lọ mẹ́kọ́ àfọ̀n torí àwọn iná ń pè káwọn ò lè lóko. Wọ́n lẹ́nìkan gbogbo ọ̀nà tápèlè àgbòrò ẹnìkan kan ò lè lóko gbogbo wọn wà lówódé. Tọ́lọ́ láwọn Fúlàní kan yìnbọn wá sókè babaláwo lálẹ́ àná. So tension wà ń bẹ̀. Mo ní káwọn ọmọ jẹ́ ká lọ. Àwa bíi 20 wọ́n wà lókè ròdì nísìn. Búrẹ́dì 2000 ni mo ní kọ́ lọ rà. Káwọn ọmọ yẹn kan fi máa fi pure water jẹ. Gbogbo wọn ló ní family náà. Àwọn tí ò ṣiṣẹ́ kan tí ò ṣe kankan wọ́n máa gba sálárì wọ́n máa ṣe ogbẹ̀. Wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn sìn wọ́n náà lọ kọ líìsì wọ́n ní kó máa lọ rẹ́gísà síbì kan. Àwọn tó lọ rẹ́gísà lọ́dọ̀ wọn yẹn ṣáwọn òsínlù látijọ́ yìí nígbà tí kìnìyàn ti ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí ìgbésẹ̀ àwọn náà gbé mẹ́. Ó yẹ kí gbogbo àjọ wà lórí fíìdì nínú àwọn tá à gbowó àwa ń perform. Àwọn tí wọ́n sì ní hope àti táwọn èèyàn rí gangan I didn't even see their performance at all. It's as if we are just stupid, we don't know what we are doing. But tí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí òun mọ̀ yẹn ní kí n kọ́kọ́ sọ̀rọ̀ kí Sẹ́ríkí tó sọ̀rọ̀ mo mọ̀ kéde ẹni Sẹ́ríkí á sọ. Tí ẹ bá fẹ́ gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ àbí ẹ fẹ́ mọ̀ àwọn àgbààgbà kan sì wà nínú kára yẹn tó yẹ pé wọ́n ń ṣe inside meeting lábẹ́lẹ̀. Àwọn àgbààgbà kan sì wà nínú kára yẹn. Àwọn àgbà yẹn ẹ jẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn yìí mọ̀ pé àwa ò lè lọ ilẹ̀ Haúsá mo ti sọ láàfin rí. Àwa ò lè lọ ilẹ̀ Haúsá ká máa lọ ṣáyàwó wọn lójoojúmọ́ ká máa rẹ́pọ̀ ọmọ wọn. Àwọn kíní tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ń jẹta ni òun mo fi hàn yẹn. Ẹni tó ń gé lórí ẹni tó ń dúnú gbogbo abúlé tó ń finá sí tí wọ́n bí Yorùbá kan dá kó lọ ṣerú ẹ̀ náà ti bó tí ò bá yẹ pé mi ti súnmọ́ ọlọ́pàá mo súnmọ́ ọlọ́pàá ni àti pé mo rí polóyè ìlú ni mí ni mo ṣe ń kọ̀ǹtúrò ara mi ohun tó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú òkú tèmi ti ń rí láti jèlò á ti sọ́ọ̀dà torí tí nǹkan kan bá ṣẹlẹ̀ sí Fúlàní kan nísìn orúkọ mi ò dàbújá ìjọ ẹni wọn ò gbọ́ ìjọ ọmọ tí ń sèfù Fúlàní wọn ò gbọ́ o wọn ní kọ́lọ́pàá máa wá mi o ìjọ tí ń bá tó bá dé pé owó bá di pé àwa náà bá change ojú ìgbà yẹn lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ gbogbo ọwọ́ agbára tí wọ́n lè fi frustrate yẹ tó òfin ní dá sọ́dọ̀ yẹn mọ́ ni wọ́n máa ṣe. So eléyìí ìjókòó tẹ ń pè ní ìjókòó àlàáfíà yìí ìjókòó àlàáfíà kọ́ o a máa jókòó àlàáfíà o àwọn step 1 àwọn ọmọ wọn wà ní pápá nsìn wọ́n ń bá àwọn ọmọ wa fà á gangan ẹ pé ọjọ́ ọ̀dọ̀ sáìdì nsìn kẹ́ ẹ béèrè ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ pé ìgbà ẹ béèrè pé kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ nínú igbó wọn nsìn ẹ pé gan aládé lọ ẹni kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ pé jòhùn pé kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ kí n pe fóònù kan.
Can we say that all these are lies? But these are evidence. But Tinubu disagree with you.
The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there's not.
Well, mo ń béèrè lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà, mo ń béèrè lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá, ọmọ Ìgbò, ọmọ Haúsá, ọmọ Ìṣẹ̀kírì. Ǹjẹ́ a lè ṣe pé Nigeria is no longer bleeding? Let's listen again to this.
Wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ bí ọ̀rọ̀ epo àwọn á di 200, á di bàbá. Ẹ fọkàn balẹ̀, a máa gbé wálẹ̀.
Ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀, ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀.
Let's read quickly. 25th of May 2024, Tinubu, our government has stopped Nigeria's bleeding. We will now move to prosperity. President Tinubu has stressed the importance of strengthening the local government, accusing the state governors of hindering the local government growth. But local government yín òun ni kò jẹ́ kẹ́ ní àṣeyọrí because the local government is not having a full autonomy. And I was reading from El-Rufai, the evil monster that told the Christian that there will never be a Christian governor in Kaduna. He posted something on his X, formerly known as Twitter, this morning that I did catch up with. While we are trying to get that, I am asking again, is Nigeria still bleeding? Or should we say the bleeding stopped since Tinubu and the APC came to power? I am not sure whether what Tinubu is saying is right, but it seems that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu continued to say that there is no more bleeding in Nigeria. As I am preparing to give you those updates because of the time this afternoon, it is Sunday, Moki Bobo Musulumi, Moki Bobo Christian, Moki Bobo Akwe, happy Sunday and welcome to the conversation. El-Rufai, as we all know, was a former governor of Kaduna State. I'm going to bring that up in a minute, but let's go further. The next video, I will not be able to show you, but I will just let you hear the soundtrack. Interfaith boy, àwọn Fúlàní tó ń bá màálù sùn, òun ni soundtrack yẹn. Ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbọ́.
Mo zoom ẹ ni ẹ máa wẹ ní tó ń dún ẹran báyìí ẹ̀rí ó yọ kó okó ẹ̀ náà lọ sí ọkọ̀ fídíò ẹ̀ kó wá lẹ́kùn táwọn fóònù mi á dí o ó lẹ́nu. Ilé ayé ti bàjẹ́ bá ẹ̀rọ ilé ń dúró màálù ilé tó ń dúró bá. Ẹjọ́ dọ́spáàmù síbẹ̀. Ó ti fẹ́ rìlíìsì. Ó ti rìlíìsì. Ilé ti rìlíìsì.
Ẹ túbọ̀ máa jẹ màálù. That is a Fulani man having full intercourse with a cow in Yoruba land. Sọ pé kò kún ẹ́, màálù tó ń jẹ yẹn, somebody has already had intercourse with it. I will play another video. I will not be able to show you. This is another Fulani that have cut off the hand. What he gé owó arákùnrin yẹn, what he gé ẹja kò gbọ́ audio yẹn.
Please come and interview him, please.
Right, come on, ask.
Please interview him so that we can get the video evidence.
His left hand, what he gave you by daddy, what he yọ kúrò, ó wá dìímú sọ́wọ́.
Yeah, take this man to hospital. He waste blood.
Please let them take him.
Now,
They go. How much just woman nata? How much come have you?
now cutlass he use like this. He say waiting.
He said they were following them. So they want to block the car and they cut his hand.
They cut his hand. What is sharp? What is your one?
Take him to the hospital.
Over for where? If he did by move, what is your by? What is
Come and interview, please.
All right. But Tinubu disagree. But this is what El Rufai posted some few hours ago on his timeline. And let me read it quickly. It's a long one. I read everything, but I'm not going to allow myself to be bored by reading everything. Restoring the Federal in the Federal Republic of Nigeria by Nasir El Rufai, the former evil monster of the governor of Kaduna State. I have the privilege of chairing the APC Committee on True Federalism, which submitted its report back in January 2018, attempt to put forward a position on federalism, an issue that has been intensely debated in the recent decades. For the sake of our country and its people, we need to put as much passion into affecting what has been agreed, even as we further debate that which is awaiting consensus or resolution. We are in our 25th year of democratic governance, long enough for a panoply of deliberate actions to be taken to undo the destruction injected into our federalism by the decades of the military rule. Propelled by ideology or driven by the pragmatic desire for a working and dynamic country, many Nigerians see the merit in devolving powers and responsibility to the subnational level. It is seen as key to further unleashing the productive impulse, soaring creativity, rewarding the competitive instinct, and promoting better governance across the state. Devolution of power will also free the federal government of some burdens and enable it to concentrate better on discharging its most consequential responsibility in the national defense and security, monetary and fiscal policy, and the foreign relation. Some positive steps towards the restoring and the practicing federal ethos have recently been taken. The Constitution Amendment passed by the 9th National Assembly in January 2023 included significant adjustment to the exclusive list, shifting some important responsibility like the electricity, railways, and prison to the concurrent list. This empowers the state government to regulate what they are saying here. Do you know that Buhari refused to reveal the 2014 confab? It was all abandoned for the 8 years of President Buhari. We don't know what Tinubu is going to do with such confab. But again, these are the lies. These are the crimes committed by a political party that has been in power for 9 years. My question is, President Tinubu says that Nigeria is no longer bleeding. But it seems that many Nigerians are saying that something seems not to be right. And they are all coming out frequently giving us their view. Let's listen to this young man.
Báàgì méjì 500 kí ló tún ṣẹlẹ̀ èwo ló tún ṣẹlẹ̀ báyìí kí ló tún kọ pure water omi tá fi ń dáná omi tá fi ń dáná kí ló dé pé gbogbo nǹkan báyìí ìnira ti pọ̀jù Lagos State kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ nígbà tẹ́ ń ta pure water láti mọ́tò méjì 500 méjì báàgì méjì 500 láti inú mọ́tò àwọn tó máa tún ta kọ́lé ló máa tà kí ló pé ìnira á pọ̀jù ní Nàìjíríà ìnira ti pọ̀jù àtìgbà tí Buhari ti bọ́lẹ̀ báyìí ni Buhari ti gbé lọ́fù ló ti gbé ìfẹ́ lọ kò sífẹ̀ẹ́ mọ́ ìnira ayé ti pọ̀jù epo wọn àsọ̀rọ̀ gàrí wọn àsọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo nǹkan wọn àsọ̀rọ̀ ṣé pure water omi dààmú lẹ́tún jẹ́ kó wọ́n omi jọ́sọ̀ omi tọ́lọ́run dà tó ń ṣe pé bóyá pé kínní òun lẹ́tún jẹ́ kó wọ́n níbo la ń lọ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà níbo la ń lọ báyìí níbo la ń lọ tó bá gbógun la máa jà tí gbogbo wèrè yìí máa fi solve tó bá gbógun la máa jà tí gbogbo ìyà tí àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù jẹ yìí táàfin ní jẹ mọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká kúkú jagun ẹ tó bá máa kú kó kú ẹ tó bá máa yè kó yè ìnira àtẹni wọn lára yóò ti pọ̀ jù ẹ kò lè gbádùn kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ kó ṣe lè gbé wáyé wọlé síbẹ̀ ni why we stop to be like this.
All right, these are all those Nigerians that are putting out their anger. But your president disagree with you. Before we go with the primate, let me read again what President Bola Tinubu's statement that was released from the presidency. President Tinubu on Friday told Nigerians that the worst days are now over. gbogbo àìsàn tó ń ṣe yín, gbogbo wàhálà àti ìdààmú tó ń ṣe gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà, pé gbogbo ọjọ́ yẹn ti lọ, pé òun ti gbé prosperity wá, wealth, healthcare, security, economy buoyance. Everything is bumping. Everything is going very well. Investors have arrived in Nigeria in their multifold. Even with the diaspora should not be concerned. They have also opened the visa to almost everywhere you want to go with a good economy that Nigeria have. So you will not have any problem if you apply for any visa to Fejapa. Tinubu says, and I quote, that those days of the worst is gone forever. Your children will not be able to go sleeping without a meal in their stomach. There will be medical for many Nigerians that even Tinubu will not have to travel to France for his own medical anymore. He will take his medical treatment right in Nigeria, just as many of those politicians as well. Tinubu says, and I quote, that Nigerians should not think about anything anymore, that the worst days are now over, that Nigeria is no longer bleeding. Only kò sí nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ bleeding mọ́ nínú Nigeria, pé gbogbo nǹkan ti dẹrùn fún gbogbo ọmọ Nigeria. But wòlíì kan, pásítọ̀ kan sọ pé no, Tinubu irọ́ ló ń pa. You are telling lies. You are telling lies. Jáde sí gbogbo local government. And you will find out that many millions of Nigerians tonight, or today, or yesterday, have died. More than 7,000 Nigerians have died in the first 10 months of President Bola Tinubu, according to the Vanguard of the 23rd of March 2024. Tinubu says that the president is also now accusing all your governors, your governors are the criminals. Tinubu is also confirming that. Tinubu said, I should tell you that your governors are the one holding your prosperity, that your governors are the one holding you back from not moving forward because they have literally collapsed all the local government underneath them. Pé wọ́n jẹ́ káwọn local government yẹn kó dàgbà láti lè tọ́jú gbogbo yín. Tinubu say gbogbo àwọn governors yẹn oníjìbìtì ni wọ́n, olè ni wọ́n, bá ṣe ń kówó fún wọn, owó tó yẹ kó lò, wọ́n ń tọ́jú ẹ̀ pamọ́ fún 2027. I am not the one saying it. Tinubu said it. Tinubu accused Ole. Tinubu is already accusing Sanwo-Olu all the way down to the north and all the other part to Uzodinma. That they are all criminals. That the money that is meant to be used for the purpose of the governance to take care of the community has been taken away. And that is the reason why many community across the 774 local government is dead. Out of that is 191 in Yoruba land. That is why in Ibarapa, from the east to the west, in Oyo State, the 33 local government, Seyi Makinde cannot manage it. The question then is, should we continue with Nigeria? You can put that in the comment section. The state governors have been clogged in the wheel of the development of the local government as the third tie of the government. So development tó de wá bá yín, ìyà tó ń jẹ yẹn, wọ́n ní local government tó yẹ kó function, tó yẹ kó mú ẹlẹ́ lọ sí local government, kó assign sí school, kó ṣe títì, kó ṣọ̀nà. Wọ́n ní ó ti wà clogged because your governors and the deputy governors and all those representatives in the state, they are all criminals. Speaking when he received the delegation of some Yoruba leaders, and that is not Professor Akitoye, I can tell you that, of thought at the State House, the president, according to the statement that was issued by his media advisor, Ajuri Ngelale, emphasized that the governance must be transformative and must address the critical needs of Nigerians. Is the government dealing with your critical needs? What are your critical needs? You can put it in the comment section. As of today, what are your own critical needs? Kí ni nǹkan tó need gangan? Security, education, business opportunity. Kí ló need gangan? Kí ló fẹ́? You want the presidency to make sure that you can set up a business and that business will function. And if there's a problem between you and your client, you can have a judicial system that is working. What do you want as a diaspora? You want to invest back in Nigeria. What is your expectation? Tinubu said I should ask you. According to him, in the past 12 months, I've been fulfilling for his administration, despite the presence of challenges being addressed frontally. What are the challenges? The one that the idiot, the evil man known as Buhari committed and passed it on to Tinubu. His word, it has been challenging, it has been fulfilling as well. We took over. No, you never took over. It is a continuity of the same corrupt APC. Buhari is APC. It is not PDP. Tinubu, you took over from Buhari. It is the same APC. It is the same agenda. And there is no difference between the manifesto. According to the words of the President Bola Tinubu, it has been challenging, it has also been fulfilling. But we took over and we have now stopped the bleeding. Àti dá ẹ̀jẹ̀ yẹn dúró, ẹ̀jẹ̀ tó ń ṣàn nínú Nàìjíríà. Tinubu ní kí n sọ fún yín pé òun ti dá dúró, kò ní lọ síbi kankan mọ́. Ẹ̀jẹ̀ tó ń ṣàn tó ń wọnú gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tó fi ń ṣe wádìí jàǹbá, ó náà ti dá dúró. So we will not be able to hear any Fulani attack anymore from Friday, which is just about 48 hours ago. So tó bá máa fi díjọ́ Monday, mo fẹ́ gbọ́ pé Fulani wọnú oko because Tinubu ní kí sọ fún yín pé òun ti stop with àjẹsílẹ̀. O gbọ́dọ̀ wá pé ẹni tó wà labroad pé ìyà ń jẹ Tinubu ní òun ti ń fún yín ní owó. Ó ní gbogbo ilé àwọn tí ń tọ́jú. So let us, the diaspora, breathe for some time. Ẹ yé pè wá fún ìdààmú tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà nítorí pé Tinubu ní ìdààmú yẹn òun ti bá yín yanjú ẹ̀. Ẹ fi wá sílẹ̀ káwa náà lè rí ayé gbé díẹ̀ ká lè tọ́jú ọmọ àtìyàwó àti ntani níbí. Because your president just confirmed on Friday that everything tó ń ṣe yín ní Nàìjíríà òun ti resolve it. No more wahala in Nigeria. Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ló ṣe rí? Bá ń fi sínú comment section. Má máa wò mí bí orí rẹ̀ sí. Fi sínú comment section. Ìwọ náà kọ tiẹ̀ síta. Má wo tẹlòmíì. Ẹni tó ń kọ tiẹ̀ yẹn, ìwọ̀n sọ tiẹ̀ ní ó lè yàtọ̀ sí tọ̀dọ̀ tiẹ̀. Ṣé medication ló fẹ́ rà fún dádì ẹ? Oh, dádì ẹ ti ní kágbàlagbà bá ń dàgbà, ìyẹn máa ní àìsàn kéékèèké tá máa ṣe. Ǹjẹ́ orówó ra ògùn? Ǹjẹ́ orówó ra Panadol? Ǹjẹ́ oróúnjẹ jẹ lásìkò tó yẹ kó jẹ? Ǹjẹ́ fruit wà nínú ilé ẹ? What are the problems that you are encountering? Bá ń fi sínú comment section. Tinubu says, since I have stopped the bleeding, I can say categorically, I am not the one. I am just saying exactly what Tinubu say I should tell you. Tinubu ni, I can say categorically, pé ó dá òun lójú títí dé inú àgbá àyà òun, that Nigeria is no longer bleeding. That's a very powerful one. That Nigeria is no longer bleeding. That is a very powerful one. I can tell you that. I don't know. I am over 3,000 miles away from Nigeria. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà nílé lẹ lè bá mi confirm it. Because Tinubu ní Nigeria is no longer bleeding. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí Koikimedia Ayodele, like I said, the laptop is not charging. Ẹ máa láti lọ darapọ̀ to complete the program, but ó ṣì ń fún mi ní one more bar on that laptop. As we continue, can Tinubu, before we move further, whether the bleeding is right or not, what are the evidence or the indices to confirm that the bleeding has stopped? Because Tinubu is operating on one constitution, the most fraudulent constitution that we know that it cannot work. Let's listen to another angle from Pastor Emmanuel Femi about how Nigerians are feeling, because I think Primate Ayodele Elijah, but I think I Pastor Emmanuel Femi táwọn náà sọ nínú church service wọn kan tí ó ti wà lọ́wọ́ wa láti bígbà tí a ti ń rí lò. Ẹ gbóhùn sókè bàbá.
I pray God will give Asiwaju the courage to do it because it will affect even himself. It will affect all the APC powers.
These urban, the MDs urbans are the destroyer of this system. The powerful, the high and the mighty. He is stepping on their toes. I pray God give him the grace to do it. The next thing he should do, tell him if you know him, is to restructure this country. Nigeria is a fraud. One particular tribe repressing the whole of us. Did you hear what Central Bank governor wants to do? Just a department, the operation department of Central Bank, to be moved back to Lagos, where you have 99% of the headquarters of bank. The North is agitated. Don't take Abuja back to Lagos. They don't care. If you all become beggars, It's okay for their oligarchic mentality. I talk like no other pastor talk. I talk like no other pastor talk. Because I have seen into governance, I have seen into the church. And I know where the problem is in this country. Are you hearing? They may not like what I'm saying, but they cannot dispute the truth. They cannot go on like this. Okay, I was talking about those who migrated. I don't blame those that want to japa. You know, initially I was saying don't japa. Do you hear me say that again? Japa if you want to japa. Because you look at the country and say, what future? If it goes on like this, what future? If it goes on like this, civil war is imminent. If it goes on like this, military intervention is imminent. Do we want to go back to that? No, something must happen. I have always believed that something must happen. Do you see the way we pray in this church? Make Nigeria one. We don't pray. Nigeria is not one, and it can never be one. We are different nations tied together by force. We should still be one country, but let everyone govern itself the way he likes. Are you hearing me? Let the Niger Delta have their oil. Let the East have their resources. Let the Yoruba people have their resources. Let the North have their resources. Let them manage their security. Give them state police. Let everybody guard his borders. Let everybody generate his economy. Why must we generate oil in the Niger Delta and take it to the north? Why must we generate IGR here, or the VATs, and take it to the north? That generate nothing. The 10 key northern states have Sharia. Sharia says no to alcohol. Sharia says no to tobacco. But alcohol and tobacco is what give us VAT here. And you take the money from there to spend where you say you don't want, but you like the money. Fraud, unfairness, injustice. Where did we sit down?
Moki Alaja Queen Ara, welcome to the program. So those of you, like I said, I might turn off the camera. We see if I can move, the charging port so that we can keep that going. So you might not see my face coming out anymore. So you'll probably just be seeing Tinubu and Babakitoye, and hopefully you can still be hearing me. Hopefully from where I'll be charging the laptop. That is if we can still. If not, we will just have to end that part, and then you'll have to go. It's not picking. So Lori Koikimedia, I advise you to join us on the other platform where you can continue watching the program, because in the next less than 10 minutes, the battery on this laptop will go cuckoo. Moki Bugwale can say happy Sunday is exactly the 26th. It's under 5 more days or thereabout. Next week, Friday, will be the end of the month, and we'll be going into the month of June. Remember that we have all decided that we will be paid our monthly dues to the 10 on Romanian, the one that Babakito told us, the one that we did the program, Etik Bagbe, Ejekoje, something that is in our hearts. Wherever Tibubuabawa around the world, let us make sure that that contribution continue on a monthly basis. If you can pay us up front, it is only 10 naira, Nigeria, $10, 10 euro, 10 pounds, 10 Benin Republic money, 10 Togo money, 10 Ghanaian money, wherever you are around the globe. It is mandatory that you also contribute. If you are not too clear, nobody will tell you to give them their personal account. It has to be the one that Babakitoye put out. Go to the website www.ysdn.org and go to donation subscription. It is a due, and we hope that next week, when the month comes to an end, you would also be making your own contribution as well. So we go back again to the conversation. That conversation is all about the Yoruba people that wants to exit Nigeria. But before we talk about the exit of Nigeria, because like I said, this program is not a very long one. Biakako but dear, Nibiti Oba Bariga, Nibatolo Sekiti. I don't know if that will pick a lot, but let's see if I can hear a better sound. It's a very, very low quality sound. We'll probably leave this for the software. The sound is very, very low. It's not a very good quality sound. But Mukiba Bawakabiesi, the Jagumolu 3 of Bariga, for this courtesy visit and also akí gbogbo àwọn ọba wa tí wọ́n ní àwọn ti ṣe tán àwọn máa tẹ̀lé wa gbogbo bí ta bá ń lọ nítorí pé kí ni ìyà tó ń jẹ wá yìí àwọn ò lè accept ẹ̀ mọ́ adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo yín kábíyèsí wa for standing firm adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo yín àtẹni tó sọ̀rọ̀ síta àtàwọn tó rọra ń ṣe nísàlẹ̀ we can only say we are grateful for every single one of you. Very, very important that you make your own contribution and don't wait for the next person. Do yours, and that is only way we can secure a better opportunity. Let's go back quickly to Tinubu. He says, and I quote, Nigeria is no longer bleeding. That Nigeria is no longer bleeding. And it will not bleed to death. I don't know how true that is. Tinubu say Nigeria only bleed to death, but we can see that there's a lot of things going on, and Tinubu needs to talk to people. His government we are not in the military regime. We are not in the military era. It's a democracy. It's a democracy that Tinubu must have conversation, and he has up to June 15 to get back to us on the letter that was sent to him through the leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the national leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination Movement, Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, leader Yoruba National Defense, Otumba Ola Ademola, the vice chairman Yoruba Self-Determination Movement. Tinubu has no other reason to ignore us. Gambari, we know is a weak element, but Kukinshe Fulani, he must respond. I'm not going to read the whole of the letter, that we sent, but I'm just going to take it from the last part that's case like this. The Yoruba response. We Yoruba are civilized modern people. We attach the greatest importance to citizens, respect for sanctity, integrity, and dignity of the public authority. We are sure that all the public order and the good depend on this condition. We find it extremely difficult to continue to accept to be part of a country in which any one of its constituent people feel free to treat the country and its government as the Fulani are treating Nigeria. The Nigerian president, the Nigerian federal government, and all the government and the peoples of the Nigerian Federation today, we are sure that the Fulani act of terror and destructions against other Nigerian peoples are criminal acts. We are sure too that the most of what the Fulani are saying in their declarations of war against president and the federal government and the other governments and the peoples of Nigeria are serious crimes as it chooses. But we as a people, Yoruba, are clearly opposed to the continue to participate in a state entity in which the government seems to lack systematic strength, the political will, the moral confidence to treat crimes as crimes and criminals as criminals. We believe that the situation like that portends a horrific deepening of the already deep anarchy and economic failure of Nigeria. But Tinubu says, and I quote, that Nigeria is no longer bleeding and it will not bleed to death, but rather we are now moving to prosperity. That there is the promise that he made to you all Nigerians, home and abroad, and it's also charge that you gave to him. It goes on from Babakitoye on this side, that it promised to governize Nigeria. We believe that the situation like that potent a horrific deepening of the already deep anarchy and the economic failure of Nigeria, that it promises to governize Nigeria to an all-encompassing violence and war, which will consume millions of Nigerians' lives and export disaster and human suffering to the rest of the West Africa. We Yoruba cannot consent and longer to be part of such an inevitable and imminent disaster. Our closing words. Your Excellency, the above plus all matters raised by us in our letter to President Buhari was dated on the 6th August 2022, a copy of which letter we hereby respectfully attach to this letter, is the fulfillment of our respectful message to Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we Yoruba Self-Determination Movement, acting for and on behalf of the 60 million Yoruba people of Ekiti State, Lagos State, Ogun State, Ondo State, Osun State, Oyo State, plus the Yoruba local government areas of Kogi State and Kwara State, plus the Ishekiri homeland of the Delta State, all together constituting the Yoruba land in Nigeria, hereby most humbly place our crown request for Your Excellency as follows. That the Nigerian government shall within the next 2 months, but not later than the 15th of June 2024, inform us Yoruba Self-Determination Movement that the Nigerian federal government had grievously agreed to our proposal for negotiation and has set up a negotiation team that will meet the dialogue with our Yoruba national team. That as soon as we receive a communication, between us and the federal government, we will then be able to have this set up somewhere in the world. That as soon as we receive the communication from the Nigerian federal government in response to our request, our negotiation, we shall forward the list of the negotiation terms to the Nigerian federal government. That the Nigerian federal government negotiation team and our negotiation team shall meet to appoint a co-chairperson to agree on a date for the first negotiation meeting, to the negotiation venue, to the negotiation agenda and the process. This is the civilized and diplomatic way for the right to the Yoruba people to self-determination. And on that note, those of you on the Koikimedia Oduduwa, we call it a break there. You'll have to join us on the other platform. Thank you so much. Happy Sunday. That the Nigerian government shall invite the United Nations, African Union, and the economic community of the West African state, ECOWAS, to send observers to the negotiation meetings. Don't say that Tinubu is not going to listen to us. It does not matter. That is the request. That is the process. Or not often by country, you do all the diplomacy, all the diplomatic, and then if all that fails, you start thinking of more other options, and there are a lot of them, I can tell you. Many of them. Your Excellency, please accept the best assurance of our highest regard and our best wishes. But again, Tinubu Magbo, it is entirely up to him whether to listen or to ignore. But ignoring such is a danger that can become a bigger problem for him or for the future. Let's now leave what Tinubu have said. But it seems that as Tinubu says, Nigeria is no longer bleeding. Somebody has come out to say, Tinubu, you must be joking. Right. It seems that whoever is managing your affairs, whether it is Gbajabiamila that told us that only Almighty Allah will support and help President Bola Tinubu. What about those of us that doesn't believe in Allah? The question is Nigeria bleeding? According to Primate Ayodele, says, and I quote, on the Daily Post this morning, Nigeria is still bleeding. Don't be deceived, Primate Ayodele tells President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And it goes like this. The leader of the INRI, Evangelical Spiritual Church, Primate Elijah Ayodele, has said that President Bola Tinubu should not be deceived because Nigeria is still bleeding. Primate Ayodele was reacting to Tinubu's statement that Nigeria is no longer bleeding due to the reforms his administration has been able to carry out in the first year of his office. However, Ayodele said the president is being deceived by the people around him. Easy. Welcome to the program. Somebody like the Minister for Budget and Planning, a criminal according to the United States government. A 419 that was allowing money that was meant for the crude oil sales and many more to be shifted for Nigerian purposes out of Nigeria under Abacha as at the time. Go and Google it yourself. It is there. The evidence have been piled up. He is the current Minister for Budget and Planning, Bagudu Atiku Abubakar. He's not the one that contested for the PDP. This one was also a former governor. These are some of the criminals that are probably deceiving Tinubu, including as many of them. But one very Nigeria, I am asking you from the southeast to the north, is Nigeria still bleeding? And if Nigeria is bleeding, what is the solution? Because Tinubu says he has a solution and he has actually stopped it. But it seems that many of you disagree with President Bola Tinubu and his team. Just like the primate, Elijah Ayodele said, Tinubu, you have been deceived by the criminals that you surrendered yourself with. The same thing Buhari told us. Buhari said he has stopped all the terrorism. The same thing that Jonathan told us. The same thing that Obasanjo told us. They are all fed of the same feathers, listening to the script by the Europeans and the IMF and the World Bank to suppress the indigenous people from being free from the bondage of the 1914 amalgamation. And we will continue to say to the international community, it is our right, just like the right of the French people, the German, the British, just like the Scottish people, we have all the right to get the hell out of Nigeria. Nigeria is no longer visibly working for the real indigenous people. It is not going to work today. It is never going to work. It has never worked because the British knew when they were joining it together that we have different ideology. We are not the same. But many Nigerians probably say it's about leadership problem. But as of today, I'm very low on you. Eyomo Igbo, Eyomo Yoruba, Eyomo Hausa, is Nigeria bleeding? It's just a simple question. Just answer me. And if it's bleeding, what do we do? Do we allow ourselves to bleed to death before we speak out? However, Ayodele said the president is being deceived by the people around him. In a statement by his media aide, Oluwatosin Osho, the Primate Elijah Ayodele of the Evangelical Spiritual Church, explained that things are getting worse every day. Nigerians are languishing in pain due to the economic hardship of President Bola Tinubu administration that was brought upon them. He stated that people can't afford to buy the essential commodities because of the inflation. There is also inflation in the UK. We are all struggling around the world, but yet I can have the basic things. This is a box of egg. How long it's going to take me to eat it is not my problem. This is a box of egg. All these were bought yesterday. It is not that it's cheap, but again, as I told you, we are all struggling around the world. But why should we be the one funding Nigerians at home when Nigeria can fund itself? It's a criminal country. We have enough resources across all the length and breadth of the country. Let everybody go their separate ways and manage their economy. Deal with the insecurity and do not allow people that are criminals to come into your country, just like America and the UK and the European countries would not tolerate a terrorist or those that should not be in their country to be in their country. But Yoruba people, I'm sure by 2027, Etulomagba PVC. I am not going to curse you because my mom keeps telling me, stop cursing them. Just leave them. Just educate them. Even though sometimes I will curse you, but I will just not curse you. I love my mom too much and my wives. I will leave it like that. But the politician will be cursed on a daily basis because they are criminals. They are the ones that are listening to the script of the Europeans to keep us in the bondage. That bondage, we would unbundle it. But we would do it with every means, education, awareness. We will do whatever is meant to be done in a very civilized manner. That is why the Yoruba movement has never been a violent. But that does not mean that things cannot change in the future. But for now, under the leadership of Professor Akintoye, under the leadership of Chief Sunday Igboho, it is not going to be violent. But we will continue to do whatever needs to be done to protect and defend the territory. Because our governors have failed us. They cannot take care of our community. Our community is no longer secured. Let's complete the final part because, like I said, this program comes to an end in the next couple of minutes. Tinubu should do a survey. According to the Ayodele, Nigeria is still bleeding. It may not affect the rich, but every day people are crying because of how bad things are. Tinubu should do a survey of price of commodity in the market and see how bad things are for Nigerians. People are in anguish. Tinubu must not allow anyone deceive them that it is well. It is not yet well. People can't afford 3 square meals. It is getting worse on every day. Don't be deceived at all. People are in serious pain. As I speak to you right now, many people, as of this morning, I am still receiving calls for support. And I'm sure many of you diaspora are doing the same thing as well. Then remember that we have millions of people that have been affected. So does not mean that you are not affected. I am close to the grassroots and I know how much I spend to support the masses just to feed them. That is the Primate Elijah. And I hope that Baba Gio will be doing the same thing without keeping quiet. I've not listened to his sermon today. What they should be talking to Tinubu is, this is still a bleeding country. I will follow Baba Adeboye broadcast and I'll pick it up and I'll tell you what he says. If he hasn't said anything as of today, then something doesn't seem to be right. I expect Baba Adeboye, a leader in the Redeemed, to speak out against this corrupt government that Nigeria is still bleeding, because he has so many members around the world and some of their members might not agree with what we say, but Nigeria is bleeding. So Androki Baba Adeboye, káwọn náà gbẹnu sókè, kó bá wa sọ̀rọ̀, kó sọ fún Tinubu pé Nigeria ṣì ń bleed. They don't have to support us in the right to self-determination. We will continue our fight and we will continue discussion with many of the churches and the mosques across Nigeria. But if Baba Adeboye ò bá sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí, then something doesn't seem right. I am close to the grassroots. I know how much I spend to support the masses just to feed. President Tinubu should not celebrate anything because Nigerians are suffering. That Nigerians are suffering. That is what the primate is saying. Moki Oloye Gbowo, Moki Baba Kitoye, Moki gbogbo ọmọ Yoruba nation. Tinubu should not celebrate anything yet. Don't be deceived. People are sad, he said. That is coming from the primate himself. And as I said, it's just a very short Sunday broadcast. We will continue to monitor the situation on ground with many Nigerians. We might not be able to support millions of you, but this is the only way we can support you, by crying out on your behalf. You don't have to support the self-determination. If you do, it's a bonus. But if you're expecting anything, and I mean anything to come out of the country called Nigeria, anything at all, whether anything that you think will come out of Nigeria, I'm sorry to tell you, it is not going to happen. Nigeria is like a Titanic that was built, and they were told that the Titanic would travel all the way to New York or wherever it was going. It didn't even go further than they expected. Those that were rich on that particular ship, may their soul rest in peace. Some of them did not even see that the ship was sinking. They were still thinking that it can't be possible. We could be possible. I mean, these were a record that we've read, the visual that we've seen, the documentaries. They were telling that the ship is sinking. The poor people underneath can feel it, but the rich at the top, one possible. Titanic cannot sink. I am talking to you, Nigerians, that you are saying that Nigeria is not going to sink. We can see that it's already sinking. It is sink. But anyone okay, any could sink because you have security, you have money, you have Wi-Fi, you have everything. Your children can travel, they have access to the embassy, you have the network. We can see that it's sinking. You will sink along with it. But we will rescue our people. Because as at the time that the Titanic eventually sank, multiple people were saved. But those that died out of the ignorant did not accept the truth. Because the truth is the bitter part. Many Nigerians are living in denial. You will not rescue Nigeria. Your prayer will not rescue Nigeria. Your intellectual will not rescue Nigeria. There is no amount of PhD that you have that will rescue Nigeria. It is a dead on arrival. It is already collapsed. The oxygen, we are looking for the cable. The final cable is what we are looking for to disconnect it. Because they've kept it with that little oxygen left. But we will remove it with our awareness, with our campaign. And like I said, it is just the beginning. Nigerians, prepare your mind. Yoruba will be free. Biafra will be free. The Arewa will be free. Ijaw people will be free. We will all be free. And stop telling us that there will be many more within Nigerians that are small communities. Well, I can tell you, Gibraltar is just 40,000 and their life is far better than you that wants to save those other little communities or those indigenous people to be in Nigeria. Let us have 40,000 people to set up their nation. They can lean with the side of any other countries, just like Taiwan is leaning to countries that can support them in case China invade them. We would also protect as many of those smaller nations against the invaders. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. Have a very blessed Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. It's a bank holiday tomorrow, and it's also a long week as many of the children in UK and around the world. Happy Children's Day to many of you that have children, and many children at home that can't eat 3 square meals. It is because of you that failed to support the mission so that this country can finally collapse, especially those of you influencers. Tomorrow now you'll be sharing Guguru and Ekpa. But one thing is, let us remind ourselves that things will go the other way around. Have a very blessed afternoon. Iṣẹ́ wa fúnlẹ̀ wa forílẹ̀-èdè wa, ká gbéga falérí. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ni pé bá ti bẹ̀rù làbọ̀ mọ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká jọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ní kẹjẹ́ ká máa lépa. Ìtẹ̀síwájú fọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ Oòduà dìde bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ. Ìwọ ni, èmi ni. Ògo Adúláwọ̀. Thank you so much. Blessed Sunday. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí. If I didn't mention the names, I say thank you for being part of the broadcast this Sunday. Bye for now.